enforce tariffs based on current market conditions. Joining us to discuss is ALP President Wayne Swan and Independent MP Sophie Scumps. Good to see you both. Wayne, I'm a little bit confused about this. We're talking about companies that took home enormous multi-million-dollar profits and now they're slugging customers more?
Well, we don't know what the energy regulator is going to do, but we certainly don't want the energy companies price gouging. Many of them did very well last year.
Yeah.
Prices should be coming off. There has been a need for reform of this formula used by the energy regulator, but I think Australians would be very intolerant of energy companies price gouging again.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know it was a particularly high year in terms of profits, but when you're talking about like upwards of $700 million in profits and then we're slugged by an extra 20%, it's ridiculous. I mean, Sophie, this change comes amid lobbying from the industry to compensate for down days when solar generation is high, but surely consumers won't cop that.
No, look, I can feel another ACCC inquiry coming on. What we know is renewable energy is the cheapest form of energy, and as renewables have increased in the proportion of the grid, we've seen wholesale energy prices come right down. Last year they came down in different states between 44% and 64%. So what we want to see is that these savings are passed on to households and businesses and not gobbled up by providers on the way through. No, I don't think people will be happy about this.
And I imagine in your electorate, Sophie, too, there'd be a huge uptake on solar. You wouldn't want to discourage people from doing that.
Absolutely not in this climate, and we know that it's a really cheap form of energy for people, and so it's a really good option. So those savings must be passed on to households.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, despite Australia's economy holding steady, experts have warned the Albanese government to ease off on big spending in the May budget as inflation continues to hang over the Treasurer and PM. Wayne, the slowdown in the economy isn't great news. There are also concerns the RBA made the wrong call in November with those lifted rates. Are they out of touch?
Well, I think we've got low unemployment. We've got a reasonably healthy economy with the cost of living finally coming down. And what we now need is interest rates to come down as well. Look, I'd give the government 9 out of 10 for economic management so far.
Of course you would.
Of course I would, because it's outstanding in world terms. But of course, you never get the credit for the bullets that you dodge. So the government has got an ongoing challenge to make sure that growth is sustained, not to cut back the budget too harshly, to keep unemployment low, to keep the cost of living coming down and get that balance in the economy. And they've done a pretty good job on that so far.
I mean, Swanee, as Carl Lewis says, is one of the best treasurers this country's ever seen. What would you do faced with these numbers?
Well, I think the numbers are a challenge if the Reserve doesn't ease rates soon, and I think they will, as they ought to.
Sophie, the May budget is going to be crucial for the government, isn't it, and for the public?
Oh, 100%. Look, I think it's always a really difficult line for any government to sort of tread when you're trying to ease cost of living pressures for people who are doing it extremely tough, but at the same time not cause inflation to get worse or prolong. So there is something that needs to be done. There does need to be a cost of living relief package for people doing it really tough. And I would suggest things that, like last time, that don't increase inflation, like increasing rental assisting and increasing job seeker for those people who are having to skip meals or being forced out of accommodation, who are doing it extremely tough. We do need to look after them. Yeah,
it's dire out there, isn't it? All right, and finally the story everyone's been talking about this week. After being charged for an alleged racial slur aimed at a police officer in London, Sam Kerr is arguing that she did not, in fact, say stupid white bastard, as her legal team continues the bid to have the case thrown out. Wayne, if someone was to call you a stupid white bastard, would you be offended?
Happens all the time.
Why on earth would anyone say that to you?
Well, look, I don't think it's racist, but Sam is a role model to millions of young people across the world, and when you're in the public spotlight, you've got to be careful about what you do. So if you're in a taxi late at night and you're in a bit of trouble, well, that's a challenge, and naturally there's going to be a focus on it.
Sophie, there's been so much speculation when this story was first reported about what Sam may have said. Given what's been alleged, should this case be thrown out?
Look, I think her team is suggesting it should be thrown out. That's what Sam's saying as well. Look, let's hope it's the case. It would be a huge distraction for her. And you can imagine being called these things across worldwide media. It would be tough. But let's hope that's the case and it does get thrown out.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Carlos, no one's ever called you a stupid white bastard, have they?
No, I've never been referred to in those glowing terms. Plenty of other stuff.